Hey everyone, how's it going? Trent Walker here with Between Two Slopes, and with me is Connor Davis, the man. He's a fantastic skier, one of the best skiers I've skied with, so I'm really excited to have him on today. We're going to be talking about ski preferences, really what that looks like for different skiers. Before we dive too much into that, I do have an apology to make for last week. My old episodes, I've been posting old episodes from before we were on YouTube, and I missed last week. So if you were hanging on for the powder ski episode, it's coming.
Yeah, it was too much fun.
Yeah, that's right. But we're super excited to be here, talk about preferences. Like always, leave a comment, like, subscribe so you don't miss anything, and we're excited to jump in.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Connor.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're going to jump into preferences. And when I was thinking about this episode, Connor and I are both skiing very similar terrain. Well, for the most part. But the gear that we choose is very different. And how that plays into the performance that we're getting out of the gear, as well as the terrain that we're trying to hunt down, all plays these kind of factors. So we're going to talk about where we're going, what gear we like to use to either get there or enjoy our time there, and then also like what's our favorite ski or what's our favorite gear right now, so you can kind of understand our preferences. And if there's certain aspects of those things that you like, or you're like, oh, I wish my ski did X, Y, and Z better, feel free to drop a comment or drop something in the chat, and we can have a discussion about, any questions that you might have about your gear and how you can get the most out of it. So, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, sweet. So when it comes to preferences, how do you develop preferences in your gear, in your equipment?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say that 50 to 60% of my preferences is how I was raised skiing.
Okay.
So I think there's a large portion of this is what I've been doing, so this is what I continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some of where I've gone out on a little bit more of a limb and tested certain aspects that are maybe deviate from what I've been doing traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when it comes to gear, that's kind of what your question is, right? So I would say typically long ski, stiff boots, rocker, just let it go,
Okay.
So that's normally what I'm riding most days.
Okay, so lots of rocker, long ski. So let me ask you, how long have you been skiing? And then what did you, if you can remember, what did you learn on that kind of created that preference?
I mean, I've been skiing since I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you want to say when I really got into it, it was a super consistent thing. That was probably, I'm old, I don't know, 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And my first real setup, the ski were some Nordica Enforcers, super heavy ski. I think there were Marker Dukes.
Okay.
One of the first gen Marker Dukes was mounted onto it. I believe they were 194s.
Okay.
I think.
Super tall.
Yeah.
So for reference, this ski right there, that's a 186. So he's 6 centimeters taller than that, right?
Yeah.
So then, how old were you when you were riding those?
And that would have been
Like a teenager?
Yeah, it would have been 17, 18, and then also I rode them again at 21.
Right.
20, 21.
So let me ask you, I mean, you don't have to tell us too much, but how much did you weigh, right, at the time in comparison to the ski, right? Because that ski's heavy, and if you're not able to put a lot into it. And then why did you continue to ride such a big ski?
Right. So at the time, this is before I became a dad. I'm
Yeah.
old. I probably weighed 155, 160 pounds. Same height. I was probably 5'9", 5'10", call it 5'10". And sorry, what was the other?
So then why did you continue to ride that ski? Like, did you get used to it after a while, like strength-wise? Because it takes a lot to maneuver a ski like that, right?
Yeah. I think, one, obviously budget, right? Like, skis cost a ton of money. This was like a setup that worked, and I had a lot of fun on. And then two, I think I just kind of more adapted to that style of ski, right? So, for anyone who doesn't know, the Enforcers were also, like, I don't know what they are at the waist. They're like 118 or something. Like they're like a powder charger ski kind of thing. And so really just got used to skiing that. Yeah. I made the skis I adapted to what the skis were good at. And I just enjoyed that.
Yeah. So we got,
Dad life for life.
Yeah, dad life for life. So let me ask you, how did that impact the way you skied, meaning like your form, right? Because as I go out skiing, there's a lot of rockered skis these days, and a lot of rocker in the tail makes the ski very forgiving. And I think that a lot of people don't know what they're doing because their skis are so forgiving and so easy these days.
Yeah.
So how did you really like adjust? And then as you tried different skis, did you notice the form translate easier? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. So the other thing is on the Nordica Enforcers, it's a flat profile. So that was a 194 flat.
No camber.
No, there was like ever so slightly. Like someone in the comments can probably check that, but there wasn't much camber. And so it wasn't an easy ski to ski. There wasn't a lot of turning, at least quick turning involved then. It was like, bend shins forward, point straight, and kind of like hold on a little bit while you're going through like crud. And that was fun. I do think though that skiing that on those skis specifically for a number of years, that when I then got on, I think my next set of skis was the Rosignol Super 7s.
Okay.
Which is like the exact opposite. Those were like, they were still like 193s, but like a super rockered ski.
Super light,
like the profile. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but
more camber.
The shovels are huge, like easy to turn. So like, I think being on those skis and then going to the Rosignols, it really was like eye-opening to like how far ski technology had just gotten in a couple of years.
Right.
How much, like to your point, how much easier it was.
Yeah.
To just like turn and kind of adapt that style. But I think you always kind of keep a little bit of, what you learned on or what you rode the most. And you transfer it from ski to ski.
Well, and I think that and as we're having this conversation, I'm thinking back to the skis that I've ridden, and the first ski that I got on, that was, it was a little too tall for me, and it was much heavier than what I was used to. It was actually these turbos right behind me, right here. But I almost think that it's good to get like thrown into the fire per se, right? And adapt to how skis want to ride instead of how you want to ride. Because then once you get onto something, more forgiving or more tailored to pivoting and turning and surf, right? Then you already have like these basics down on how you should be skiing, right? So awesome. Love that. So as we move on, like I said, Connor and I have different preferences. And what I mean, so now that we're both adults and we're both dads and we're skiing, similar terrain, what are you skiing on now? And then I'm going to compare it to my skis.
Yeah, so right now I've got a bundle of skis, which I don't love that. I just to be clear. And I don't know, we may talk about this as we get through it, but I do think sometimes we have too many skis for what we're trying to do. Yeah. And I've been a little bit pulled into that where it's like, oh, what kind of day is it? Like, oh, gotta have my, Bluebird, Groomer Day skis, and then all these different ones. But I would say the skis I'm most consistent on right now are the Hojis, which I have a really old model, like a 2019.
Well, like the 12?
Well, no,
19?
I mean, not super old, but 2019 or 18 model. And those have some It's the Freechy before it was Freechy. I'm trying to remember what that company was called. Not the Tectons on there, but and then
it's a Tech binding.
Yeah, it's a Tech binding. Then I've also been skiing the Wonders. I also have maybe one of my favorite skis of all time. And if anyone's ridden them, they would know. It's the Shiros. The Vocals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't make that ski anymore.
They don't make it anymore, but it's seriously, I think it's one of the best powder skis ever made. So still ride that, even though the bindings are completely shot. I can't adjust them at all. And then I have, I don't know, a few more, but anyways, that's kind of, I'd say right now the Hojis are probably what I ride almost most days, unless it's very clear that it's either
gonna be cruddy.
Yeah, cruddy, or it's snowed a foot.
Yeah.
Then I'll pull out the powder skis.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know, the Hoji is a 112 underfoot, full rockered. So what that means is Connor is looking for terrain or enjoying terrain most in that ski that is softer, right? Would you say that's true? Yeah. Real quick, Learn to Fern says, the ski that I learned on felt like they were 3 miles long. How do you know if your skis are too long or too short? That's a great question. So it really depends on your preferences. But before we get into preferences, your ability level is huge, right? So if you're a beginner, you want it to be about the same length as or size it's hitting between your nose and your mouth. Intermediate's about your eyebrows, and then expert is preference or usually about the same height as you. So great question. All right, so I wanted to compare. So looking at what Connor prefers to ride or is riding on a regular basis, his Hojis, are you riding those with your kids? Yeah.
But do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because I can ski lazy on them. That's why.
Yeah. They don't bite you.
They don't bite.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry. You can just slide down the hill sideways without any concern.
And so what he's saying, you can be lazy on them because they don't have camber, right? So if you're not right on top of them and you're, pivoting, you're not going to feel that catch and then slap, right? Yeah. So that's a little different than me because recently, I have my Devastators. They're fully rockered. But I've become disillusioned with them a little bit.
Okay.
Because I noticed that as the day goes on, they're not giving me the energy back because I'm not spending as much time in soft conditions, right? Where something with camber that's giving it back, I noticed that my energy lasts longer. And that's where my preference would be okay, if I'm finding myself on groomers more, I should really find something with a little more camber and support, so that I can go longer and not have to put as much energy in, right? So I've been enjoying my Gauchos, and there's some other skis that I've been able to ride that have been, that similar profile. But I do love me a good twin tip, so I can still be, pivoty or ride backwards or whatever, right? So that's...
As you're saying that, I don't think I actually own a cambered ski right now. Maybe the Shiros I do think... They might be flat.
Yeah.
A little bit of camber.
See, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because we're riding at a similar level, but we're riding totally different equipment, right? So your powder ski, you said it was a Wonder. Is it the what's it called? It's their 120 model, right?
Yeah.
Is it the full camber model, or is it the camber model, or the full rocker model?
Full rocker.
See, so that's another interesting thing, because even my powder ski, the bents at the end right there, they're a 120, which is on par with his Wonders, but they have camber. Because once again, the preference of the bite, right? The bent shellers can still be surfy, but there's things that I have to pay closer attention to when I am in the snow, because there's going to be a little more pop to my ski. But then there's things I don't have to pay as close attention to when I get to a groomed run, right? Where Connor, if he's in a full rockered ski like that, once he gets to a groomed slope on his powder skis, they are a little more demanding to get turns in, right? So
I think there's something to be said. There's a lot of marketing out there, but I wouldn't get too caught up in full rocker is like a POW ski, and like rocker kind of is, but camber a lot of times is associated with like groomers or like ripping turns. But I think there's a lot to be said, especially as technology's advanced, like what camber can do for you in powder, especially when it's not, like the fluffiest, lightest Utah snow ever. Like I think there's a benefit a lot of times to camber.
Yeah, I agree. Right. So, all right. Well, let's keep moving. We'll keep talking here. And once again, if you guys have any questions, let us know. But the next thing I want to talk about is, we touched on a couple of your skis, right? Your Wonders, your Vocals, your Forefronts. So what is your favorite ski right now? And it doesn't have to be necessarily one that you own. So actually, let me rephrase that question. What is your favorite ski that you own? And if you could buy any ski, money is not a question. So what's your favorite that you own? And what's your favorite that you would buy?
Yeah.
And why?
Okay.
Obviously.
So I think I'm going to give two favorite skis that I own.
Great.
I love the Shiros. Like, I don't know. There's just something nostalgic about it. I also think like it's just a ski I've had for a long time, and I've had really amazing days on it. And I actually mounted it quite a bit forward compared to where the recommendation was, which I think changed the ski quite a bit because I initially had it mounted recommended.
Okay.
And I think it made it more fun and less like chargy.
When you moved it?
When I moved it forward.
Right.
Which I think just allowed me to enjoy it a little bit more. So it's always that's been like a fun ski for a long time. And then I will say, even though the new skis are fun, I think the old set of Hojis with like the Freechies on it is like super fun. And I think some of that's just because, and Trent and I talk about this a lot, not on the podcast, but like I always think that like AT bindings are way better.
Yeah, we do have this conversation.
Maybe what they actually are, and like you probably shouldn't do a lot of stuff on them, but like, I mean, I've done, I don't know, 50 plus, 60 plus resort days.
Yeah.
Like, maybe even more.
Which is wild.
And like, just love it. And I think, some of that does come just because I think it's like so rad how far technology's come and like you can ski them. So they always have like a little place in my heart too. I don't know that my favorite ski is necessarily always attributed to like what the ski can do, because I still think like you're going to be up there and you're going to have fun. And some of those just kind of, it's more like a memory or like
well,
how the ski is.
I love that because, when I first started doing this podcast back with Austin, I was really getting into the weeds with a lot of things, and I noticed that it started taking some of the fun out of skiing for me. So as you can see, Connor's talking about these things and he understands them, but he doesn't dive too much into it because at the end of the day, getting up on the hill and enjoying yourself without thinking, oh man, like, why didn't I have my Wonders today? Or why didn't I have XY ski today? Can really start to like put a damper on your day, right? So really at the end of the day, understanding your equipment is good, but it's also good to enjoy yourself and not think too much about your equipment. So
yeah, I think, not to belabor it too much, but one other part that kind of maybe plays a little bit into that favorite is what you're talking about is like when I had the Shiros, it was like when I was young and married and like just didn't have a ton of money. So like I was skiing these huge powder skis like almost every day, no matter the condition. So I think there's like a little part of that too where it's like fun because it's like, oh, I was skiing this like really long 193 powder ski in like the end of March and April when like you shouldn't have been, or people would tell you not to, but you just had as much fun on it as you did otherwise. So
yeah. And I think that especially if you're going into a shop and you're saying, I'm looking for a new ski, they're going to tell you XYZ reason why the ski you're looking at is either right or wrong for you. But you know you better than anyone else. So get something that you'll enjoy, and eventually you'll grow to either adapt to it and love it, or, you'll figure it out. So, yeah. Okay. Before, I'm actually going to intersect a little bit because this video is all about preferences. So I actually want to hear the switching your mount point decision. Like, why'd you make that decision?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you really enjoyed that decision. But someone else who's listening who's like, I don't know if I need to remount my skis, right? Because I think a lot of times we can get in our heads. So talk about why you made that decision and, how it made your ski feel different.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, this decision was primarily made initially because it had different bindings mounted to it,
Okay.
and I ended up getting a smaller boot size.
I've been there. It's the worst.
And the binding didn't fit that boot. I couldn't get it small enough because I went from 27 and a halves to 26 and a half, and I was already all the way
Like
at the
sucked
bottom
in.
end. So I couldn't. So that was the initial choice was either to go back more,
Mhm.
which I knew I didn't want because, I just didn't want to have like a ton of ski out in front of me. Just
Mhm.
the way I like to ski, I don't
You don't
wanna
prefer
point
that.
it straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not my preference. And so the other option was to move it forward.
Mhm.
And I will say at the time there was a lot of conversation, not to belabor a lot of industries, but like Forefront, and I think Moment and a couple other ski brands were kind of pushing that barrier of moving their recommended mounts forward. So I thought, what the heck, let's give it a try and see what could happen. And I will say, like, since then, I'm very aware about where the ski mount is. Whereas prior to making that adjustment to move it forward, I would have just gone with the standard recommended on every ski, which
Right.
I think is a safe bet. Like, if you don't know, that's where you should
Yeah,
mount
that's
it.
what you should do.
But now I'm more conscious about, like, okay, I think my preference is always to be a little bit more forward on the ski.
Closer to center.
Yeah, closer to center. But always be aware of that because, like, I know, companies like Wonder's recommended mounting point is already fairly center, and like that's so you don't want to go forward from an already aggressively forward recommended.
Before you know it, you're like, you got way more ski behind you than in front of you, right?
Yeah. And I think actually Faction kind of was doing that as well, kind of pushing that forward. I think it makes it more fun. If you're looking to charge, or if you're on, I think more of a cambered ski, I don't think it has as much of a like fun effect to move it forward
Right.
as it does on like a rockered ski, just because you're not running into as much of like your edges
Yeah.
being down and actually in contact with snow, so you can get away with a little bit more with that being forward.
Yeah. No, that makes sense because I think of like, something like a Vocal Deacon, which is really just like an aggressive, hard charging ski. You would not want to go forward on that ski, right?
Right.
Because of the way that it's designed, and it has a flat tail. So usually a twin tip is something that's safer to move forward on. But once again, you can never go wrong with factory mount. Most, if not all, my skis are factory mounted. And so even if you wanted to try something, a little more forward, maybe just do some research on the skis and then get something that already has that forward mount recommended, because then you can get that feel for it without, jeopardizing. But it sounds like it worked out great for you. So.
Yeah, and I think if you, again, kind of like what you were saying, if you do want to test that forward mount, go to a secondhand shop, get a cheap pair of skis, mount them forward,
And see what you think.
ski early season, end of season, hit some rocks or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you would have a better idea with your other skis.
Sweet. Okay, so now we're going to go back. We're going to backtrack. If you could buy any ski, what would it be? Now, this question, Connor and I have talked about this a lot. And part of the reason I wanted to ask him this question is because he can never give me a straight answer.
I don't have an answer. I'd like to try them all. Budget was not a thing. I'm really interested in the Black Crow lineup. I think, they offer a lot. So I don't know if I can give you a straight answer on like exactly which model.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple brands that I'm interested in. Moment as well. RMU I think is always like kind of an interesting. But it's more of just like I want to see, not necessarily like. Let me, I guess, step back to what I was saying about having too many skis.
Yeah.
The reason I'm not as interested in the model is because I don't think at this point when I'm skiing that I need to be on, a certain type of ski to go have fun. But I'd love to kind of see how these companies are interpreting like how they want you to ski or like how they see skiing. Because, I've been on a couple skis, one of the most well-known DPS, and like I thought I was gonna love it, and I got on there and I was like, these skis are not for me. They're so soft.
Yeah.
So I think Black Crow, and Moment are two brands I'd love to try a couple skis, see how they are.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And it actually made me think when you said, you got on some DPSs and you didn't love them. We've actually talked about this brand before in the past. But line skis are not for me. They are not for me. I skied a couple demos. And it actually goes, once again, back to the theme of our talk today, preference, right? When I went and demoed some line blades, I thought I was going to love that ski, right? It makes a lot of sense, and the day that I was riding it, it was really great conditions for the type of skiing that ski likes to do. And the rep was like, hey, like, I know you ski a 186 normally, try this like 181 or whatever. And I was like, oh, awesome. The guy knows. He knows everything. And I went out and I was like, I hate this. I hate everything about it. But once again, I should have been like, no, I'll wait for the 186 or I'll wait for the 188 because preference-wise, I'm used to skiing something long, right? And so once I got on those short skis, I was just like, I felt like I was on ice skates and I really didn't enjoy it. So understanding your preference, and you can still like take into consideration what people are saying. It's good to have an open mind, but don't let someone saying like, oh, this is exactly how it should be, or, oh, like, the manufacturer says this. Like, always make sure you weigh your own preferences too. So, yeah, line skis aren't for me. I even tried their Bacons, and I was like, this ski's going to be amazing. I've sold so many, and everyone says they're great. I got on them, and I was like, why aren't I riding my forefront Devastators? This ski is not for me. So, great. I love that.
And also, just real quick, like, I wouldn't discount a ski that you, like, try.
Yeah.
Without like knowing how the setup was, like you were saying. I think like your preference is like, if I had mounted those Shiros back instead of mounting them forward, I probably would have not have it listed as like one of my favorite skis because I would have not enjoyed how it skied because of that. So I'd always be aware of that if like you're demoing or you're trying anything, is like give it a fair shake. There's demo bindings on there for a reason. Try it in different positions if you can.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is, if you ride a ski and you're like, and it's a demo binding, and you're like, I love everything about this ski, but it seems a little heavy, so I'm not going to buy it. Just know that you're adding weight with the demo binding, right? We're running out of time here. We don't want to go too long. I feel like we're having a really great conversation though. So I'm going to skip a couple questions, and we're gonna talk about really if we could build a ski to our preferences, what that would look like. And you can take like bits and pieces from your favorites. But if you could build your ideal ski, we've talked about some things, and we've talked about, how you almost would pick a ski that that might not be most favorable for all conditions, but you'll still ride it and enjoy it in those unfavorable conditions. So if you could build a ski that has to be your end-all ride forever, what would that be?
Yeah, I think anything that's kind of... So one, I love a lot longer skis. This year I'm actually going to be riding some 186s, which I would consider short.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see
where I'm at.
Just to see what they're like. So I think for me, just to start off, it's got to be, I probably think like 188 is what I'd like probably settle on. And then at waist, probably like 108 to 112.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Because then it's like it's good on all days, right? Like,
right. I
think that's another kind of misconception or thing that people think is that like in powder you need to be on like 120 plus, and like that's anything else is gonna sink. Like, I mean, skis not that long ago were like max 104 and like and they're 205 in length. So I think any kind of that 108 to 112, and then I'm gonna be a sucker, and I'm still gonna say full rocker because I enjoy it, but good turn radius. I think that's another kind of undervalued part of a ski is like how well it can turn. So.
Yeah, totally. I actually love that. And, I feel like as we've had this conversation, it's really made me think of, if I went into a shop today to buy a ski and I could only buy one ski, I think oftentimes we get talked out of skis, right? Be like, if you went into a shop and you're like, oh, this is going to be like my only ski, they're like, well, you can't get anything above a 105 because you'll hate it. And it's like, they don't know, right? And Connor's a great example of, get the ski that you want. And I feel like if you love it and you're going to, commit to it, you're going to learn how it rides, and it doesn't matter really from there. You'll still be able to enjoy it, right? So before I get into my ski, Learn to Fern says, cheapest way to figure out what your preferences are. Ooh, that's a good question. Connor mentioned secondhand stores, right? But I think demoing.
Yeah.
Because then you can get into like this field, be like, okay, currently I'm used to a 99 waist. Like, let's see what a 108 feels like. So go spend $50, or if you have your own boot, usually they'll give you a discount. So go spend $35 to $50, get on a ski. Maybe even if you don't know how to mess with bindings, like let them set your bindings, and then you can always drop by the shop at the resort and ask them to adjust it to go forward, so you can kind of see how that feels. I'd probably say that's the cheapest way.
Or if you have a pass, a lot of times these ski companies are going to be at some resort this year.
Yeah.
So you can just look and see what days they're going to be there, and if it's like a certain brand you want to try, get up there. If you're lucky enough to have a Deer Valley pass, I think Rossignol's are always demoed up there. So that's another way if you can.
Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about if I were to build a ski, and once again I'm going to get out of this stereotype that we're talking about and really just like do what I would want. And I think 108 to 112 is right on the money, right? Maybe even just like right in the middle, like at a 110.
Yeah.
And I would do something more center mounted, closer. So like a good amount of rocker in the tip, good amount of rocker in the tail, and then something that would like me to have more of a straight up posture, something I don't have to ride super aggressively. And then I do like having a little more weight. Something around 2,000 grams is usually preferred for me, because even if I'm in powder, my powder days usually last until noon, and then I'm riding cred the rest of the day, right? Just because I'm resort skiing a lot. So something with a little more weight usually benefits me a lot. And then, just a decent tail rocker, so I can do pivots and maneuvers, all that I want. I would probably ride that ski every day.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
100%.
That sounds great. Sounds like a great ski. So don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to mix it up, right? If the ski tech is like, oh, you don't want to ride the QST blanks today because it's cruddy. It's like, no, give me the blanks. I want to ride the blanks. And if you feel good, you'll ride good.
Yeah.
Right. So any other comments before we wrap it up?
No, I think it just second that. I think don't overthink it. Go have fun.
Yeah.
I've never had a bad day skiing. If there's snow on the ground and you're on skis, it's a blast.
It's a great day.
It doesn't matter what's going on. So just enjoy it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much again, Connor, for joining us. And like always, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We post lots of funny things over there, as well as insightful tips. And if you have any questions, let us know. We're always here to help you guys enjoy your day on the mountain. So thanks for joining us on Between Two Slopes. Have a good one.